Every now and then, a game comes along and puts its own quirky spin on a familiar genre, and that's exactly what Bomber Crew does, bringing us a real-time strategy game wrapped up with adorable aesthetics and an unforgiving gameplay. Off the bat, the best comparison that can be made to provide perspective on Bomber Crew's gameplay is just how similar it feels to the hit indie game FTL. However, I'd argue that Bomber Crew is slightly more stressful. When starting your World War II bomber campaign, you're kindly gifted a Lancaster bomber and back to basics crew. Although the game is kind in gifting you everything you need to get started, it isn't kind with its gameplay. Bomber Crew takes no prisoners. Once you've tinkered and played around with the visuals of your Bomber Crew, because let's be honest, that's the part we all love the most, then you're set off on a welcoming tutorial. This tutorial does a great job in showing you the ropes of what the game has to offer, but don't get too comfortable. The 2 tutorial missions do not sit in canon with the main campaign in terms of their difficulty. On my first playthrough, I struggled to complete any of my first 5 missions. I didn't die, but I had to abort every time. It's at this moment you can't help but feel a little overwhelmed, but this is actually where Bomber Crew really shines, as once you start learning the mechanics and everything starts coming together, there is no better feeling than landing your bomber after a successful mission run. You've probably already got the idea that this game is hard, but not in the cheap, we're going to throw absolutely impossible situations at you and force you to fail way. Bomber Crew is a lot more mature than that. Every critical situation you'll experience with your crew while up in the air can be overcome, but how effectively you overcome them is down to you and your management. I found the best trick is just not to panic, which is hard to do when you've lost 2 engines, 2 crew members are down and 4 enemy planes are raining fire down on you, but trust me, don't panic, and there's a good reason to not panic, because Bomber Crew gives you everything you need to manage just about any situation you're going to find yourself in. The ability to overcome uncertain fates falls down to your adorable crew. To successfully complete a mission, you'll need to fill 6 positions on the plane: a bomber, pilot, navigation, radio, engineer and a gunner. More interestingly, you only have 6 members of crew at your disposal, and this is where the simulation style multitasking comes in. As your crew level up, they'll unlock new abilities, and these aren't just any old abilities, but genuinely helpful mechanics. For example, at level 6 your pilot unlocks the ability to perform an emergency dive that will extinguish an engine fire, meaning you can assign your engineer to another task rather than getting them to fix the engine. Every ability your crew unlock fit together like the perfect jigsaw, putting more ownership on you to succeed. The attention to detail that developer Runner Duck have delivered is honestly quite staggering, especially when in the air. For so long I couldn't realise why I was burning up so much fuel when on a mission, and then accidentally closing the bomb doors made me realise that by having them open creates drag. The same goes for not bringing up your landing gear after takeoff. Now, you might be thinking that sounds pretty obvious and only an idiot wouldn't bring up the landing gear after takeoff, which is kind of true, but in the midst of all-out dogfighting combat, it's very easy to forget to do even the simplest of tasks, which leads back to my earlier advice: just don't panic. Although the attention to detail is amazing and is a big reason into which the game grabs you into its addictive gameplay loop, there is one area I really wish felt a bit more fleshed out, and that's the main campaign. Bomber Crew plays out in mission-based format, with each mission lasting anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes. The main campaign is made up of 8 what the game calls critical missions that vastly differ from the day-to-day missions, mostly in their difficulty. This huge jump in difficulty does lead to some grinding in order to kit both your crew and bomber out for the next brutal critical mission that you're going to undertake. Grinding isn't something I mind too much in a game where it doesn't feel repetitive. The biggest flaw to Bomber Crew is how there's no difference in reward between easy missions and hard missions. Both offer the same amount of points and funds, so why on earth would you ever choose to take the hard mission? Now is a good time to mention that Bomber Crew features full permadeath for both your crew and your plane. So, if you invested 15 hours into a plane and crew, would you really take the hard risk when setting out on a filler mission where there's no extra monetary reward? You can argue that with more enemies on offer in the hard missions, your crew will earn more XP, which is true but hardly worth the risk of losing everything. I honestly can't think of any reason why the developers wouldn't differ the rewards depending on the risk rating of the mission, and it brings about an unnecessary complaint I have to a very, very good game. Bomber Crew is one of the most original and adventurous games I've played this year, and I loved most of my 18 hours with the game. The feeling of growing in ability with both your plane and crew means you can't help but get attached, and it's disattachment and lack of tangible reward in the tougher missions that will prevent you from experiencing some of the game's best moments. But even in the easier missions, you'll find the game hard to put down. The feeling of elation when landing a plane with 2 engines out, a fire on board, and literally no fuel in the tank with just your pilot left is what Bomber Crew offers time and time again.